So if you're a regular follower of my channel, you will have noticed that there's been a handful of videos lately where I've been reacting in frustration because of negativity by the creators or just because they've been a really bad AI created video. So for this video, I really wanted to do something that was a bit more upbeat and a bit more positive. And I stumbled onto this one today. Now, I'm actually, for the most part, flying blind here. I watched about the first 30 seconds of the video and thought, this looks like it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be quite amusing. So I have to do a reaction to it.
Australia, the land of sun, surf and wildlife that's secretly plotting your demise. If you're planning a hiking adventure down under, you've probably heard horror stories about venomous snakes and giant spiders. I'm here as a certified Australian hiker to tell you it's okay. You need not worry about Leggy McWebface or our danger noodles. So while you're busy hyperventilating over a harmless huntsman spider, let me introduce you to the real dangers lurking in the Aussie bush.
Okay, this is about as Aussie as it gets. Complete with the cork hat. She's just so very laid back and calm, talking about the things that are going to kill you in the Aussie bush. There's a bit of a Wednesday Addams kind of tone to the way she's talking.
Things in Australia that will unalive you. The water, both the creatures inside of it and a lack of. In terms of things to be cautious of within the water, look out for the Prime Minister of Australia. You thought I was going to say shark. The leader of Australia, Harold Holt, drowned at a Victorian beach in 1967, and despite an intense search effort, his body was never found. Conspiracy? Or just a reminder that if you're doing a hike around water and want to go for a swim, don't become complacent. Or else you too might have a swimming pool named after you.
That was so classic, it was not what I was expecting. And how insane is it to actually name a swimming pool after Harold Holt?
And of course, yes, sharks live in the water, but you should know you have an equal chance of getting killed by a kangaroo.
Finally, a bit of common sense. See, this is what it takes. It takes an Australian to actually explain to people the truth about things like this in Australia. And let's clarify here for anyone from overseas who's watching this. The chances of getting killed by a kangaroo are actually pretty slim. The videos that you see on YouTube about kangaroos being aggressive and attacking people, generally that doesn't happen. Generally they're more than happy to just keep going about their daily life and ignore people. It's only when they've been aggravated or if they've been fed by tourists and then they go after people because they want to be fed that they start becoming aggressive.
If you are driving to or returning from your hike, watch out for our skippy friends. They love to jump out at you for no logical reason. Be extra vigilant at dusk, dawn or nighttime. And if you see one of these signs, it means welcome to the battlefield. Good luck.
So true. Who else, when they get to one of these signs, finds themselves becoming hyper-focused on the side of the road for the next 3 kilometres? Because honestly, if you've ever hit a roo or a wallaby, you know that it's something you just never want to do again.
Returning from our side quest back to the water, when out on the trail, even on the more populated tracks, never assume that there will be water available in the rain tanks or the creeks. Of course, the cooler months you're usually pretty safe, but during summer or times of drought, it's a good idea to check in with the local parks or visitor centre just to confirm there's water available.
And of course, anyone who's ever had to rely on tank water can totally relate to this rural knock. That whole thing of listening on the side of the poly tank while you bang on it to see where the water level is, and hoping that you're not lying on the ground when you find the water level.
Oh, and one more thing, just look out for the blue-ringed octopus. Let me guess, you have an octopus that can kill you as well. Seriously? Muscle paralysis is what they're really good at, including the muscles that you use to, breathe. But death's super rare because they're shy. The only thing that's saving me from certain death from a blue-ringed octopus is because it's an introvert. Pretty much.
You know, she's making a good point there. Not that they're introverts, but that the chances of actually getting stung by a blue ring octopus are pretty low because, well, how often do you hear of deaths by blue ring octopus? Yeah, it happens, but it's not a common thing. It's not like they're everywhere and they're coming after you. In fact, according to Mr. Google, there have only been 3 recorded deaths from blue ring octopuses recorded in the past century.
Things in Australia that will unalive you. The sun. In case you weren't aware, there is a giant flaming ball in our solar system. This ball produces different types of energy. Visible light, which we see as sunlight, infrared radiation, which we feel as heat, and UV radiation, which we cannot see or feel. Sun ghost, if you will. Due to Australia's geographical location, we have some of the highest levels of sun ghost in the world, and consequently, some of the highest rates of skin cancer in the world. To put this into perspective, more than 2 in 3 Australians will be diagnosed with skin cancer in their lifetime. That's
First of all, I like the idea of her calling it a sun ghost, but I just have to compliment her videography. She's definitely put a lot of time into creating this video, which is something that you've got to appreciate.
UV radiation is strong enough to cause sunburn in as little as 11 minutes. And a personal skill of mine, getting sunburnt through the window of the car.
Yep, you can always tell the person who travels by car a fair distance to get to and from work or spends a lot of time driving because they have a driver's arm. Their right arm that is perpetually darker than their left arm. And yeah, I have been sunburnt while I've been driving as well. Of course, when you live in Bendigo, the first thing you do when you buy a new car is you go and you make sure the windows are tinted as much as they legally can be.
But what I'm trying to get at here is you can be exposed to sun ghost even on cool or overcast days. So while you are looking up the weather for your hiking trip, also take note of the UV index. The UV index gives a rating from 1 to 11 plus. Anything that is 3 or above means sun protection is recommended. Any good weather app like the Bureau of Meteorology or the SunSmart app will tell you the particular time of day when the UV index is at its worst. This brings us to Australia's finest health campaign, first brought to us in 1981 by a seagull. Slip, slop, slap, seek, slide.
Clearly, I don't watch enough commercial television because I hadn't come across Seek Slide, so hopefully she's going to explain that.
Slip on a shirt, slop on sunscreen, slap on a... Hey, sorry, can you just slow the voiceover down a bit? I can't slip, slop, slap that fast. Slap on a hat, seek shade, and slide on sunnies.
Did anyone else look at all that leaf mulch that her hat was sitting on and find themselves becoming extremely anxious when she picked it up and then extremely relieved when she gave it a really hearty shake before putting it on? Because I can't imagine anything worse than leaving your hat sitting on the ground and putting it on and getting bitten by an ant somewhere on your face or your head.
Things in Australia that will unalive you. This? Don't go there. Yes? No. They will be watching. They will be waiting. Who? The people? The dinosaurs. Pretty sure dinosaurs went extinct about... Stingers. Stingers? Venomous jellyfish. You have those too. Of course we do. I'm just gonna go outside for 5 minutes just to get some air, if that's alright. Watch out for the trees!
Okay, so it looks like she's about to segue into talking about gum trees. But I hope that she does actually come back to the jellyfish and the crocodiles for the sake of any non-Australians who are watching, just to maybe bring them up to speed and let them know that, as with sharks and the blue-ringed octopus, unless you're a complete moron and you go where you're not meant to go, then you should be pretty right. Okay, I'm guessing that given she was using a Melbourne UV index, that she's in Victoria, but still, this just fills me with anxiety seeing someone sitting on the ground in the bush. Okay, admittedly, I am allergic to jack jumpers. If you've ever been to Tasmania, you may have encountered them. They are nasty little black ants which do actually jump, and they can give you the most agonising bite, with the bonus of anaphylaxis for some people, like myself. So to see anybody sitting on the ground, especially with all that leaf litter around, does my head in.
Things in Australia that will unalive you. The trees.
Oh, for sake.
There is a phenomenon called sudden branch drop, or SBD. This means a seemingly healthy tree may shed one of its limbs without warning. It's easy to imagine a tree dropping a limb on a windy or stormy day, but sudden branch drop can happen in clear skies on a still day. There are certain types of trees that are more prone to SBD. Particular species of eucalyptus are one of them. And in case it slipped your mind, you won't be able to last 5 minutes in Australia without coming across some kind of eucalyptus tree. It's our trademark. What this means for you is before you go and pitch your tent at a campsite, have a look up to check you are not under any looming branches. You wouldn't want to wake up inside your tent and discover you've been crushed. Only you wouldn't wake up because you've been crushed.
Now, that was something that I learned from a very, very, very early age, going camping with the family on Bruny Island. Like, I would have been like 4 or 5 or something, and something that stuck in my mind so much that when I see people setting up camps, setting up tents under trees, I just think, are you nuts? And even when I see people parking caravans under trees, it's insane.
There's no distinct answer for why sudden branch drop occurs. Some suggest it's self-preservation. In a typical summer, a tree might need to cut down on water consumption to boost its survival odds, so it's better to abort a limb than to lose your entire self. Others suggest it's a mix of environmental conditions, the age of the tree, and perhaps even a bacterial link. Either way, welcome to nature's version of Russian roulette.
I'm surprised that she didn't actually mention that the trees or the branches are also known as widowmakers, because of the way that they do silently drop. And my own personal experience, as a teenager, I was at a barbecue and I went to just, go and have a bit of quiet time by myself, and I was sitting on a swing. I wasn't swinging or anything, I was just sitting on a swing because it was a bit further away from everyone. And I sat there for a little while, and then I was like, yeah, okay, I'm done. I got up and I walked away, and I was probably about 3 meters away from the swing before a massive branch actually came down and landed on the swing where I'd been sitting. So, yeah, I can appreciate the dangers of these trees.
Things in Australia that will unalive you. Drop bears. If you meet an Australian and they start telling you how they used to ride kangaroos to school, they are joking. We love a bit of banter. If, however, you meet an Australian and they start telling you about drop bears, they are not joking.
I love the little bit of writing down the bottom there. Genus Solarctus, species Plummetus. I love her sense of humour. I have to say, for such a cute little animal, koalas do make some pretty hideous noises.
Drop bears come from the same family as the more well-known and cuter cousin, the koala. Similar to koalas, drop bears live up in the trees, and like any animal in Australia, if they feel threatened, if they feel provoked, if you get too close, they, like their name suggests, can drop from a tree and land on you. They have super sharp claws and are capable of causing severe lacerations. They are far more aggressive than koalas. This is not to scare you. You won't find them in urban areas or even in trees on the side of the road. They are much more elusive and prefer dense bushland. They also adapt the same sleeping habits as their cousins, sleeping between 18 to 22 hours per day. So the odds of seeing one are rare, yet alone seeing one during its awake and hunting time. So if you're taking a break under a tree, just take a quick glance up and you'll be fine. And if you think this is the part of the video where a drop bear is about to land on me from this tree above, you'd be wrong. No, actually, you'd be wrong. I'm the only one here filming. There's nobody off camera that can throw a bear at me on cue, so bit of a wasted opportunity, that one.
Okay, so sorry to spoil the joke, but for any non-Australians that are watching this, there truly is no such thing as a drop bear.
Things in Australia that will unalive you. Bushfires. There's no explanation needed as to why bushfires are a danger, but let me throw in a few Aussie twists. We are known for our hot and dry summers, which are ideal conditions for bushfires. Throw in some strong wind and you've got an uncontrollable, unpredictable and fast-moving fire. 77% of Australia's total native forest area are eucalyptus trees. Lucky for us, eucalyptus trees have a PhD in pyrotechnics. They are highly flammable due to the oils in their leaves, but these trees have evolved with fire-adaptive traits. The heat from fire can trigger the release of seeds, allowing them to germinate in the nutrient-rich ash left behind. Put simply, they love a good fire. And if the trees are conspiring against you in a bushfire, you better hope you're not there. Each state of Australia has a different body who looks after the parks. So if you have a hike planned, check for changes to the conditions in the park before you leave, as some parks may even close on total fire ban days. We have the AFTRS, the Australian Fire Danger Rating System, which will give you an idea of how dangerous a fire could be if one starts in your area. You'll also find these signs on the side of the road. And of course, if a fire has already started, you can tune in to the Australian Broadcasting Corporation on the radio, who will air emergency broadcasts. You can also use the emergency app that is specific to the state you are in. Risk it to get the biscuit. In the case of a fire, the opposite is true.
So here's one observation, and that is, in terms of, I'm just going to go with the Bendigo area as an example. The fire rating sign is on the Calder Freeway. So it's as you drive into Bendigo if you're heading north from Melbourne. It's actually not in any of the state forest areas. So I think really what should be happening in places in any state is that the services that are actually controlling the state forest areas should actually have signs like that in like state forest areas. So there's like, if you go out towards Eaglehawk, which is, you know, sort of one of the areas here, there's a lot of bushland around there, and you would think that as you were heading along, like Whipstick Road, for example, that there would be a sign warning of fire danger rating, so that if people were planning on going bushwalking, they might actually have some idea of what the fire danger rating was, rather than just presuming that they are going to have enough intelligence to check. But no, that doesn't occur. So I think we need to treat people like morons a little bit more when it comes to fire safety in Australia, and have those fire rating signs in areas not just where they're highly visible on the Calder Freeway, where, chances are you're heading into suburban Bendigo and it's not as much of an issue, but put more of those signs out in bushland areas.
And just for your peace of mind, here is my segment on snakes and spiders. Let me demonstrate what 90% of snake encounters look like. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm the snake. So if you're hiking along the trail and you're lucky enough to come across a snake, it's probably going to be from this distance away. And this is what the snake's going to do. Let me demonstrate what the remaining 10% of snake encounters look like. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm the snake. What on earth? I'm just trying to catch some sun here. Go around. Go around. No, don't get too close. Don't step on me. Thank you. God, you people have no idea what it's like to be cold-blooded. God. Let me demonstrate what 90% of spider encounters look like. I tell you what, it's just so liberating to be the first person on the trail of a morning. The path ahead of you, yet to be explored. Oh God! Face spiders!
She has nailed it for the most part. I have encountered all of those. The snake that took off really quickly before you even got there. The snake that was just more happy to just sun itself. And yeah, walking up a track and not seeing the spider web until you've walked into it and it's in your face. I will comment on one thing though, and that is copperhead snakes in Tasmania are nasty buggers. I have twice seen where copperhead snakes have reared up and tried to strike. One of those instances, I was driving along a dirt road. This is going years back, and I had a little old laser that was lowered. It was almost pretty much on the ground. And as I went along the road, because it was startled, this copperhead raised up and actually struck at my car. Thankfully my window was closed, but by jeez, it scared the living daylight out of me. I've also seen on a sandy track where someone was travelling at speed, basically, and surprised a copperhead. Same thing. It reared up and it tried to strike at them. So my advice, at least in Tasmania, if you're in a country area, slow down. Watch out for copperheads because they are nasty.
I don't think I've ever come across a spider in any other circumstance while hiking. You're actually safer out on the trail than you are at home. They're all in our houses paying us rent. That's how we can afford to live the Australian lifestyle, through the spider rent scheme. We give a quarter of our house in exchange for money. So while it is correct that Australia is home to some truly venomous snakes and spiders, they prefer to retreat rather than engage in confrontation. In other words, they're going to yeet the hell out of your way. Because humans are scary, especially those that exhibit signs of board game aggression. I'm gonna have to pick all those pieces up now. You may have come into this video with the perception that making it to adulthood in Australia is nothing short of miraculous. But rest assured, we are one of the highest ranking countries in terms of life expectancy. Some other bits to throw in here. In the event of an emergency, call 000. If you are paying attention, many of our parks feature emergency markers, which are normally green signs with a code on them. That code references your location. But keep in mind that you will quite often be out of mobile phone coverage, so it's always a good idea to carry a personal locator beacon. It's also worth looking up the Australian track grading system, so you can choose a hike that is more suited to your abilities. If you want to go hiking in Australia, all you need is some common sense. Unfortunately, you can't buy common sense off the shelf, so in that case it might actually be a bit dangerous. Shit.
Okay, I'm not a fan of the idea of putting a video on YouTube where you're telling people that drop bears exist. I will say that. But other than that, I thought this was a great video. She's actually covered a lot of common misconceptions, while at the same time talking about safety in the bush. And I've seen several YouTube videos of people from overseas coming to Australia and going hiking in Australia. So the more that you get videos like that on YouTube, the more you are going to see people from overseas coming from Australia and wanting to go bushwalking. So to have someone putting out a video like this is pretty damn good. And I just love the humour of this video. It was a, 9 out of 10. I took a 1 off for the drop bears, but the rest, 9 out of 10. Now, if you are someone who is into bushwalking or hiking, then that's what her channel is all about. So this one was a slight detour from her regular content, but I thought it was just so refreshing, definitely amusing, and definitely worth having a look at. So thanks for watching. If you're new, please subscribe, please hit the like button, and please leave a comment below.